Universal Music Group has pulled all of their music from TikTok because they could not reach a licensing agreement with the platform. We've brought in a lawyer and we're going to break down the legal side of this.
My name is Tony Iliakostas. I'm an adjunct professor of entertainment law and IP at New York Law School, and I have an Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok account called The IP Professor that's dedicated to all things intellectual property.
Tony, we know that thousands of videos on TikTok have now been muted, and we no longer have access to thousands of songs from the music library. Can you break down what's happening from a legal perspective?
Yeah, so this news is fairly important, I think, from all facets of the industry, but I think more specifically, if you're a music business person or if you're into music, this is definitely a news headline to follow. So Universal Music Group, which is obviously one of the biggest music labels and record companies out there, has actually been unsuccessful in brokering a new deal with TikTok, more specifically ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, to allow the continued use of UMG songs on TikTok for personal use. And just to provide some clarity about how significant this news is, we're talking about artists, not just like schmucks, one-hit wonders. Like we're talking Taylor Swift, Bad Bunny, U2, Bob Dylan, Justin Bieber, and so many others out there that are represented by UMG. And so, and obviously UMG has, tons of labels under its specific company name. So basically, they were not able to come to terms before the February 1st deadline. As Cam mentioned, effective today, February 1st, at the time we're recording this, all music that features a UMG artist has been muted. And if you want to upload a video that features a UMG artist, you can. Again, the whole premise of this is usually these record labels work out deals with TikTok to allow personal use of mainstream music on videos, but that's not the case anymore until a new deal is brokered between UMG and TikTok. Now, I will say this is significant for a number of reasons. Number one, as I said, this bars users from using this music for personal use. So this means that you cannot organically go to YouTube, let's say screen record or grab the audio of a song that belongs to a UMG artist, natively upload it into an editing platform like Premiere, like CapCut, like Video Leap, like Final Cut, because it will lead to a DMCA takedown. You will get a notice that says that TikTok has restricted your use of a sound due to copyright reasons. And so you're going to have to replace it or just get rid of the video in its entirety. So that's something that just can't happen on the back end. What I will say is that this does not bar, however, brands from using a UMG oriented song. And that's mainly because they never had access to the TikTok music library anyway. They would have to go the organic route, just like they would if they were doing an ad campaign for television broadcast. They would actually have to go directly to the record label and the music publisher and acquire what's called a synchronization and master use license agreement, meaning that they have to pay for the underlying musical composition and the sound recording rights to use a UMG oriented song on, some type of video that they're posting on TikTok that is for commercial use. When you have a personal brand, you have access to basically all the mainstream music. But when you're a commercial brand, you have basically little to no access to this mainstream music. That's hence why it triggers the need to get a license. Now, that said, I don't know. I'm not in the head of UMG. I do wonder if, let's say, because of what's happening between them and TikTok, they're probably going to restrict brands from using their music on TikTok to essentially send a message. But it is a real possibility. It's something that is out there. So I think that that's worth noting. Another thing that's significant to note is that this does not affect the existing deals between UMG and Instagram and YouTube. All these social media platforms have their own independent deal with record labels, with music publishers. And that is exactly the case with UMG and Instagram for access to, have their music on Instagram's music library, and certainly YouTube with YouTube Shorts. There's no news of any sort of talks failing there. And so, that is certainly the case. Now, when could talks resume? We don't know. We don't know when TikTok and UMG are going to get back on the negotiating table and work out the terms. From what we know, an open letter that was posted on UMG's website does list 3 core issues at the heart of the dispute. First is fair compensation for artists and songwriters that are affiliated with a UMG song. In essence, TikTok is helping pay those people specific royalty specific sums of money. And so, it seems like TikTok was stiffing them a little bit, and hence why they have that as a critical issue. Two, they're pretty much on par with a lot of other companies in terms of trying to create safeguards for their artists when it comes to artificial intelligence. And we are seeing tons of headlines left and right about AI, generative AI, misappropriating people's identities, their name, image, and likeness. Very recently, Taylor Swift has been rumored to pursue some type of litigation against one of these deep fake AI platforms that has used her likeness in pornographic imagery. So obviously that's very defaming to her brand, to her image, and so she has every right to do so, to pursue a personality right infringement lawsuit or any sort of other tort against these creators of these deep fakes. And not to mention, lest we forget that earlier at the start of 2023, as much as it was a banger and I was listening to it every single day, there was that generative AI song called Heart on My Sleeve that featured Drake and The Weeknd, where that song was never even written or sung by Drake or The Weeknd ever. In fact, that was organically created by a ghostwriter who then took those lyrics, uploaded it on software that generated the voices of Drake and The Weeknd, and so it sounds like they sang it. And UMG was very gung-ho about actually taking down that music across all social media platforms. So, I mean, it's very fair that UMG is asking for some type of, game plan from TikTok for AI protections for their artists. So that's the second issue. Very long-winded, but that's the second issue. But the third issue is related to online safety for TikTok users. It seems like TikTok is not being transparent about that, and that's something that UMG wants, I guess, some clarity on. So those are the main sticking points. Again, we don't know when they're going to go back to the bargaining table to negotiate the terms, but for now, just know that if you want to upload a TikTok video using a UMG song, you're not going to be able to. If you have an existing song in your video in your library that features a UMG song, it will be muted, sadly. When maybe the talks resume and there's a deal signed, maybe that music will return. But for now, we're just dealt with, people. And there you go.
And of course, if you do need music for the content you're creating on TikTok, you either need to be using that commercial use library, which they have for all of us to use as we're building our brands, as we're doing our marketing, as we're doing our brand deals, or you need to be working with a subscription-based music platform that allows you to, through that subscription, purchase those songs, however many a month. Some of them are unlimited, and you can use those on social media in the content you're creating to avoid future issues like this, to make sure that your videos are not muted, to make sure that you are on the up and up and that you do not get yourself into legal trouble as you're creating content on your social media. As this continues to develop, we will be bringing you new videos, so go ahead and drop your questions here. Tony's coming back for upcoming episodes. I'll be discussing this as well. We want to keep you apprised of what's going on, so drop your questions on the social and the legal side of creating content down below. And as always, you can reach out to Tony on his social media. Tony, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at The IP Professor, and you can check out my entertainment law podcast called End Scene, with new episodes dropping every Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Follow along for updates on what's happening with music on TikTok, and we'll help you navigate the world of your social media marketing from TikTok to Instagram to YouTube to your live streaming to make this your most profitable year ever with the least amount of stress and overwhelm and time commitment as you're creating that content. We'll see you in the upcoming videos.